Hi, everybody. So, welcome to our Behind the Pen 2021. This is the Urban Roundtable. I was just saying before we went live that this is the first time that the Sister Girls Book Club has ever done an Urban Roundtable. And I'm so happy that we have Casey Mills, BriAnn Danae, because I don't want to mess it up, and Miss Dominique Thomas. How are you doing? Y'all look good. I just said that, not to say it again. The melanin is popping through the screen. So how has everybody been since quarantine? I'll start with you, Casey, first.
I'm good. I'm already a natural recluse, so it didn't really affect me as much as everybody else. I'm perfectly happy at home, so I've been surviving. It's not really a big deal for me.
Dominique?
Same here. Like my friends and family have to not force me to get out the house, but like keep calling. So it was just nothing really changed. More so, I do have kids at home though, so I had to be a teacher, and that was interesting. So yeah, kind of ready for things to go back. I was happy that I was able to write though for a long time. Just everything with George Floyd, it gave me really bad writer's block. So I was happy that I'm finally kind of back in my groove. I'm blessed for that because I was really praying on that.
Gotcha.
And it's been the same. I do like getting out sometimes. So when we shut down, I was like, what am I supposed to do? At least once or twice a day, but we've maneuvered and worked around it. So
all right. Well, y'all seem like y'all are doing well and y'all been working because y'all been dropping. So it hasn't been like y'all just been twiddling your thumbs. So how did each of you select urban as your genre to write in? Was there any hesitation? Because there is, the stereotype out there that you hear about urban that is not as great or as grand as other genres. So did you have any hesitation when you decided, you know what, I'm going to start writing urban no matter what? What was that? What was the process for you? Start with Casey again.
So for me, oddly enough, I didn't really pick the genre. I just wrote the stories, and that's where they landed. So that made it easier for me. The stigma for urban, though, is there because you almost like when people are like, what do you do? And you're like, I'm an author. And they're like, what kind of books do you write? There's always that pregnant pause before you have to try to explain it. Yeah. But, truth be told, urban can mean so many different things. And I think all the ladies will agree, we hate to be boxed in. So it's easier for us, I think, and speaking specifically for myself, to just write the stories. But they all have that element in there that basically is us, with that edge to it. And that makes it more comfortable and easier for me to just stay in that lane and feel like it's relevant, because that's the biggest thing. So many people get to that point where it does have that stigma and they don't respect it as much, but a good story is a good story. And as long as we all hold to that, then we keep dropping these dope books.
Right.
BriAnn?
I did not even know I was going to be an author. Honestly, I always read, and it was the last month before I graduated college in 2015. And I think NACO, this is back when I was a heavy reader, just reading. She had a short story contest in her group, and I entered it. And it was only supposed to be, I think, about 800 words. I wrote like 3,000 words.
What?
And at this time, I didn't even know what I was doing. I really did not know what I was doing. And she kept saying, you need to publish this. And I'm like, publish? What? I just want to finish this, whatever I started. And so I set a date to finish it by Thanksgiving because I was still away at school. I had graduated about to graduate. And I was like, I want to finish this, and then the next month I started looking at the publishing homes, and I got signed like within a month, and it literally just took off from there. And that's what I've been doing since 2015. So,
wow. Talk about a story, because you have an author that's already writing and stuff, and then you enter it, and then like boom, a ripple effect like that. Look at God.
I know, right? So,
that's such a, like,
I really went to school wow, and got those student loans for no reason, but right. So God worked it out. Now He knew what He was doing.
Yeah, Dominique.
Same here. I was a reader. Like my best memories is being younger, catching the bus, going to the bookstores, like that was just, I love urban. I feel like urban is overlooked now, and it is that stigma. I hate it when people be like, oh, that's my guilty pleasure, stuff like that. Like, it's
Yeah.
me. I hate that when people say that. And so, like, it's, to me, I'll just always love urban. Like Casey said, and it's always with a twist. Something really traumatic happened to me when I was 16. I survived like a shooting that happened when I was with some people, and I started writing then, but I never really stuck with it. I got married, had kids, and one of my good friends was like, God told me to tell you to write a book. And I was like, huh? And that was like 2014. And so I just wrote, and I got published, and it was just like the stories never left. And I'll just always love urban. Like, and you can make it your own. It doesn't have to be cliche, you know.
Yeah.
You can add substance to it. I put religion in my books. I put trafficking in, you know, you can make it whatever you want it to be.
So how do you guys maintain a healthy balance of protecting your art, but also listening to the critiques that reviewers give you, and like bloggers and everyone else? Because it's just like, yeah, I thought this was great. And then you come out and it's like, yeah, but I would have loved to see it go this way. So how do you maintain that balance? You can start, Casey. I know this was a hard one because BriAnn said, girl.
Right. I think we all are in that weird space when it comes to that. But true, and I struggle with it because when I entered the industry, I was a reader, but I read everything. I wasn't necessarily typecast to one specific genre or anything. So I knew nothing about urban. I wasn't on Facebook. I wasn't on social media. I didn't know, like, urban, the whole genre is worse than a drug game. It's terrible. So it was culture shock for me. And I started with writing stories that I was confident in, and I just put them out. So to be picked apart and critiqued so severely, it was hard for me. And now I was a mature author when I entered the scene. You know, I had worked in corporate literally all my life. I didn't start writing until I was 40. So here I go telling my age. But so
good.
That's why I wanted to say it. Let him go.
Yeah, it just, so for me, it was culture shock. So it was really, really hard. So what I had to learn was to tune that out, and it took me years, and I still struggle with it now, because I'll read reviews some days and it'll just have me like, I'm about to pull up, and then I vent around the house and I get it out my system, and then I move on, because what I've learned to understand is that as an author, our success solely depends on someone else's opinion. They can like it or not like it, and there's not a damn thing we can do about it. So you have to kind of be strong enough to venture into that space where you hear it and you accept critique that is more academic versus opinion, and then you move on. But what I do personally, I just write the stories that I want to read, and where it lands, and then the readers who it's meant for will come to it. And that is the only way to keep my sanity without, like I said, having those moments where it's just like, and, no, I can't say that, you know. So we all have those moments, but it really takes just discipline to know that you can't please everybody, and there's no point in trying. So that's kind of my go-to for understanding that. Just write the stories and allow the readers that they're meant for to migrate to it.
Got it. BriAnn?
I agree with what she said. But I do have my days where I just go on a tangent, not to myself or my other author friends, because they understand. I'll be trying to explain to my mom, like, but why did she leave that type of review if she loved the book? I don't get it. I don't understand. You know, and then I always say it's not meant for me to understand. I did what I needed to do. I put the book out into the world. And of course, our work is our babies. We don't want anyone to, you know, bash it or say anything, but we can't control people's opinions. And just because we love what we do, that should really be all that matters to us. Like, we love the story. And that's it. I tell myself every time I drop a book, do not go look at them reviews because you know how you feel. Then I just like, well, it's more good than bad ones. So okay, just take that,
Dominique?
Pretty much the same with me. I don't mind the constructive criticism. Like they said, I try to limit how many bad reviews. I'll scan it and see, because certain reviews, some people can get you together in a good way. Hey, you kind of following this pattern, or you use this too many words, or this book, the edits wasn't right. So some stuff you do want to take notes as an author. But I just come from an era where I appreciated the craft so much. I didn't even have the gumption to talk to an author and tell them certain stuff. Like, girl, you don't need to write no more. Like, I would never tell Sister Soldier, people that I grew up loving, I would never talk to them like that. And so we're just in like the era of social media where people feel like they can do too much. Yeah. And it's like, at the end of the day, if they spent their money on it, they have a right to do it. And I have to accept that. You have to monitor it. I had really bad writer's block this year from reading my reviews. BriAnn, it really messed my spirit up because I was so excited and I just read some stuff where it was like, you not progress. Like, it does hurt your pride because you put, to the authors that put they all into it, you're going to take it personal. So you just have to be thick skinned, as my mama say, because being sensitive, you won't make it.
Well, talking about, let's lighten it up a little bit. Y'all all have dropped some heat. I don't care if it was in the beginning of your careers, middle, or right now. So I want to know from your own perspective, what was the character or the story or series standalone that you say, you know what, I was in my bag when I wrote this, and you saw that your writing literally took a turn and went like higher in your own opinion? Casey?
Oh God, that's so hard for me. I see progression with everything that I write, but in a sense that it's always something different, if that makes sense. So pending the story, I may really dive into my feelings and get intact with the emotional side of it. Or some stories I might just dive in and I really, really just created that narrative of the hood and what it feels like and how it vibrates through you. So every story for me is different. So it's really, really hard for me. And, oddly enough, all of my stories, the foundation of my men are my husband. And so you get different layers of him in all the stories. So the funny part for me is I connect to every single one of them. I'm in love with every one of my male characters until the next one. And then I'm like, oh, you're the one. It's really hard for me with that, but I'm a student of life and I'm constantly learning and growing and feeding off of everything I can get my hands on. So for me, I see that moment of being in my bag with every story, and that might sound arrogant, but it's just like every story I grow and elevate to a different level in some aspect of it. Maybe not the total, piece, but in some aspect of it.
Come on, Casey, with the you giving it to us. But I wanted you to be like, it was this one. But I get it.
Okay, so I have my favorites. My very first series, those characters are the ones that just really drove it home for me. But the reason is because I wrote that story from a place that hadn't been touched from outside voices yet. So I really gave it my all, and I wrote those characters and I created them in a way that was not affected by any outside noise. So A Criminal Love is my that's my baby right there. That's the one that I don't care what you say about it, I will defend it, and you could say all kind of things about it, and I'm gonna argue with you until I have no more breath. That's my baby. There are things that I probably could have done better, but you can't tell me anything about that story. So I would probably say that's the series that really brought it home for me. And then my first real transition into getting on the lighter side of things, I'd probably say You Can Do Damage, because that's where I told that line between softening up my storyline, but still finding that balance between that urban that, you know, feeds my soul. So I'll go with those two.
Okay, BriAnn, come on, BriAnn, because we already got a whole release that you just did that people are still bugging out over. But I'm gonna let you finish.
No, I thought you said your first book is always the one for me. Michi from Speechless and I Was Never Supposed to Love You really set the tone for literally every other male character. He set the tone. So Speechless, Michi, that crew, like my readers still, I can literally write about them for the rest of my writing career, and it's no struggle. Like, you have that set of characters. It's like, okay, let's go. We about to put out another book because I can just write about y'all forever. That's him, Michi, and he got kids, and you just mature him up. He married now. When I had a second turning point of like my career where I was like, I'm really in my bag with this one. Is Juvie and Soleil. That book really put me on. And I never knew, like, I didn't understand what it meant when readers or authors would say, this series is the one, this did it for me. Until that happened. And I was like, where are these readers come from?
Well, I agree. That's my clique.
Right. But I was super excited with that, those characters. And then, of course, projects now. That is, I love him. Oh my God.
It's not that easy, is it?
It is not. I mean, out of all of them, I love them all. But when I said the in your bag, I was deep in the Black-owned bag from the Hood with Love series. Like, yeah. So I'm so glad. If they haven't read it, go do your thing. Go get
it. It's out now. Dominique?
I have to piggyback on them. Like the Mateens, I still have people come to me and like, and Casey said it, it's like I always, whenever I talk to my friends, we always say like the first start of your career is like the best writing time. Like the hustle in you for one, because you just going, you proving yourself. And it's like, you don't have something saying, wait, don't write that. Don't say, so you just write your heart. And it's like, you just come, I said, how did I come up with that? Just going back and reading it. Like now it's like, I don't want it to be to this. I don't want it to say that. So it's like, it does affect you, so definitely the Mateens. And I don't know. I have a lot of favorites too. I love all of my book men too. So, but I enjoy writing the Promise series. Something about that series, it always does something to me. But then I love Derailed. I feel like, so like, I don't know. I have a lot of favorites and stuff, but definitely the Mateen series. I mean, I'm writing about their kids now, so it's like it never, you always hold on to them.
All right, so each of you have talked about books that you've written that you love, and we all know that the times have changed. In the beginning, people wanted long series. Then it went to, I just want to read a standalone. I don't want to read a long series. Then it went to, I don't want to read a standalone. I want to read a novella. Then it went to, I don't want to read a novella. I want to read a novelette. Then it's like Velleman's. I was like, girl, all right. So how do you make sure that you guys stay authentic to your voice when the times are changing, and so that you don't end up just writing to market and just doing something because it's popular at the moment? Casey?
For me, I know my lane. So regardless of what I write, whether it be a novella, a series, standalone, whatever that case may be, I know my lane and I know what I'm comfortable with. And everybody's going to have a preference. You cannot please the readers. You cannot stay in a space where they're always happy with you. So I would say that, and for me, the story dictates what it's going to be.
Right.
I may start off with the antenna. This is going to be a dope series. Right. And guess what? 22K is done. Like, they have told their story. They don't have anything else to say. And then sometimes I start off and it's like, this is going to be a standalone. And then it's 5 books in. So it just really depends. But truthfully, I feel like all you can do is just tell your story, and who it's for is who it's for. But because you'll drive yourself crazy trying to fit in and make it work for the masses, because it just won't. It never will. And so I think for me, the easiest thing is just to stay in my lane and work on what I'm good at. When these characters talk to you, and I feel crazy when I say this all the time, but when these characters talk to you,
right?
There's not a damn thing you can do about it. You're either going to tell the story the way they want you to tell it, regardless of what the readers say, or it's not going to execute properly. So we just kind of have to go with that, live in that space of let the story write itself.
Yeah. BriAnn?
I kind of figured out like what I enjoy. Like if it's a time in my life where I know I'm not going to have enough time to write a long standalone, I'll start something, and of course deadlines do not always get met by me. I mean, in the beginning of my career, yes, because I was on like, we got to finish this book, we go to the next one. Now I'm like, no, this is a process. I enjoy it. I love spending time with my characters, getting to know them. So, like Casey said, whenever the characters are done talking, that's when I'm done talking. We done about, and so that's why I started doing exclusive releases on my website, because sometimes I just want to write a short story.
Yeah.
I just want to write a short story. That's all the characters give me. So that's how I learned to venture out. Not even learn, I just knew. I'm like, let me do something for my readers, some exclusivity. They love it. They love it. And some stuff I just don't want to put on Amazon because, they be taking our coins. But yeah, that's what I learned.
You have to do what protects your sanity. And that's really what it's all about.
Yes.
Yeah. Because if a book started as well, From the Who Love was supposed to be a standalone. You see how that turned out. I don't know. I really don't know what happened with that. But you just go with what feels good to you as an author, because at the end of the day, I know my reader is going to have my back with whatever I release. It could be a sample. They like, we want it now. We want it now. You got to know what you enjoy, and then give it to your readers.
Dominique, anything to add on to that?
Definitely everything that they said. I don't want to keep sounding like a broken record, but they're on it. Like, you just follow your heart. Just being transparent. In the past, when I was signed to a publisher, you get caught up in that groove of this is what's out, and it never worked out for me. It was always wasted time, wasted characters, because I was trying to like follow, and I didn't have a lot of books, but it is some books where it was more so, hey, this is what's selling. Put that title on there, put that, and it doesn't feed you. You know what I mean? And the readers can see it too. My readers be, oh, that book felt a little rushed. And they be right. It wasn't like, they can tell when you're true readers, they can know, like, sis, you ain't come that hard that time. So it's like I've learned to just follow, like Casey said, stay in my lane. You follow your heart, and you will know too, once you get that reader base, you'll know what's for them. If you put something, you will know too, like, my readers ain't even gonna feel that. Like, it's y'all can connect like that, thankfully, and I appreciate that too from my readers. So yeah, I don't really try to follow the trends, and it don't work out for me. I just love my writing. You just don't want to sell yourself out like that.
Right. Yeah. And Casey said that, yo, Lane, I be swerving a little bit. Just to try some stuff.
Just a little bit.
Right. No, but your lane really is what the story is dictating at that moment, because you have your signature style. Like, across all your stories, you are there in that story, and that's for both of you. Like, I read something, I'm like, oh, that's their thing. But so that's your lane. Not necessarily that you can't go from one space to another, because you do that. So you got to swerve a little bit.
Right.
But when talking about erotica horror last Halloween, I'm like, this is so nasty and scary. I'm like, I don't know where we're going, but we're gonna see what we're gonna see
what they're gonna do.
And that's what works.
And it comes out good because it's coming from you and it's authentic. It's not, something contrived, or you sat and like, well, what can I do today to try to connect the dots? So when thinking about your writing, how do you know what characters to move forward with in a story, even down the side characters? How do you flesh out the main characters? Who's going to be the best friends, and position them in a way that the key characters don't get overshadowed by like the bestie or like the friend or whatever, because sometimes we see that we be like, dang, the friend was more interesting than the main person. So how do you make sure that it's a well-balanced story?
That's so funny because so many of my stories, like, first of all, I don't outline, I don't plan, I sit down and write, and what I get, I get. I'm one of those strange people. I literally just, when I outline, I get a writer's block because in my mind, I'm going, you said this was supposed to happen.
Oh, yeah, and it's not
but
flowing.
My creative side is going, no, that's not what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. Because truthfully, again, the characters dictate the story. They tell you what's going to happen. So oddly enough, I have written stories, and as I'm writing them, the intent was once I created a character that they were going to be the main character, but then the personality of the sub-characters took over, and readers will literally be like messaging me, well, I really like so-and-so better than so-and-so, but can you do a story on them? I'm like, no, that's not what we're doing. So it's almost impossible sometimes. But as far as the rest of that question, I don't, like I said, I can't really say because I don't plan. I don't know who my characters are before I start, what they're going to be, what their personalities are. I just write and I'm blessed them. That's how I know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. My memory is horrible. I don't know how I've written so many books and not crossed them up, because when I'm done with one, I'm done with it. I will read something in my group where they posted and I'm reading it like, oh, that's dope. Oh shit, you wrote that. It's like that. But so I write. I sit down and what I get, and the stories kind of tell themselves. So God touched me because I really do not know how I manage, and the stories are always there. Like they don't stop. So that's a blessing, and I pray it continues.
Well, I do too. Dominique?
I do outline. I freestyle write too, though, but sometimes it'll get to the point where it's like not clicking, and I'll go and do this structured system that I use just to kind of get me going. But I have definitely had moments where it's like, this main character, I'm just not feeling it. Like, if you start to write the story and the characters that come at you and you're like, wait, so-and-so coming a little too hard. He trying to outshine. Like, you will see, sometimes you let it flow. I guess it just depends on how bad you want the book. Because if I don't feel a connection with the characters, I'm not going to finish the story. Every author probably got a million unfinished stories on their laptop anyway. But I have learned little tricks. Like, I won't add such alpha characters to certain stories now because I know that they're going to outshine. Like Mama Teen, I can't let them be in other people's books because my new characters won't even get any shine. So as an author, you will start to learn like, wait, so-and-so can't pop up in that story because it's going to be about him because their personalities are so strong. So you will learn to see what works for you. But I have definitely did a lot of spinoffs with characters that wasn't even supposed to have a book because they just had that to them. You just had to continue their story.
Oh, you know what I do? I give them terrible names if I really don't want them to shine. I give them crap names. Somebody left that in the review. They was like, so-and-so was a stupid name. I'm like, I know.
That is funny. BriAnn?
I outline I can't even start a book if my outline is not done.
Wow.
And that's just because I am such a planner, an organizer. It will drive me insane if I don't know what scene I'm writing next. Like I literally read it over before I start writing. I plot it out in my head. I envision it. And then if it doesn't click, of course, I try to rework the outline and it changes while I'm writing. So I would have like a 20-page outline on notebook paper.
Oh, good
and
Lord.
Then if it changes like chapter 10, I will literally rewrite it. Like that is just me. That's just me. I have a million outlines. Like it is ridiculous. I have saved every single outline since I've started writing. I need to like put them somewhere, but and then if a character is happening, because I just don't know how to write my men unless I know they're gonna be the antagonist. I know for a fact they're gonna be one of these men that the reader just gonna have to love along with the main character. Like Leno from Juvie and Soleil. He was not supposed to be this big. I can't even speak on that man's name without these reads. Like, I don't know where he came from, but I'm glad he showed up and showed out because I love Leno. But we just take control of the alpha male. When you have a character that strong speaking to you, it's like, okay, I have to do something.
It's like, all right, bro, do your thing. I'm gonna let
you because they, of course, we understand like when the characters are talking to us, it's their voice now, and it's like, hold on, man, I had a whole different type of plan here, but if they're strongly in my head, then they're definitely gonna get something. Now, I will probably make a cover and mention a spinoff, and then I backtrack a little bit if they don't talk, but my readers are used to that.
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense. So y'all all talked about social media. We talked about just how dealing with readers and being active with them. And y'all all have like groups, and y'all are very outspoken and y'all connect. So let's talk about distractions. How do you guys crank out books? And I don't even mean like just Instagram distraction or just being on Facebook distraction. I'm talking about like, today my daughter or son was sick. Today I had to go to a funeral. Today I had to, the car swerved and I almost got into an accident. And now I got to come back and sit here and make sure I write this book so that it can be out by deadline. So how do you maneuver those daily distractions and still be artistic and make sure that, you're still in your zone for writing? Casey?
It's so terrible for me because I don't outline. So if I am interrupted, I lose it completely. And then I have to get back in that space. So as far as social media, I do not do social media. I jump on every once in a while. I've got to the point I don't promote my books. I don't do any of that because it's like a black hole. And once you get on there, you just spiral. So I just don't. And it's terrible. Even readers will reach out and like, hey, you're alive. We hadn't heard from you, like that kind of thing. I can't do it. I don't have the mental space to do it. And, luckily for me, my kids are grown. My baby is a junior in high school. So, and he don't want nothing from me but to make sure the Wi-Fi works. So I don't have those distractions. But as far as the rest of life, you just really have to, for me, especially because I don't outline, you just really have to have that understanding from the people around you that this is writing time. And, you kind of have to shut out. And I block out everything. I don't have notifications on for social media. I turn my text off, like all of that stuff. And so I have to, because I'm a creative in a messy sense, not like BriAnn. So I'll be all over the place. One thought leads to the next, to the next, to the next. So I have to completely zone out in order for me to stay in that space. And so that's, how I manage. I shut out the world completely because it's the only way I can focus. And writing is so mental. And so for me, like over the past year and a half, I've been really dealing with some stuff. So it took discipline to be able to stay in that space, to have my career totally just turned upside down and then have to regroup and rebuild and go through all of that. It was such a huge struggle. And that taught me so much about myself and the discipline, and knowing that writing, I love it so much. I had to have that discipline in order to stay in that space because it was my therapy. So for me to manage that, the only thing I can do is completely shut the world out while I'm writing. I don't see how people listen to music, watch TV, all that stuff.
Oh, no.
That was
serious. I need to be serious while I write. I'm like, how do y'all do
right?
But, I'm a weird soul, and it just that's what I do. I shut the world out, and I fall into that zone, and those characters just take on life, and they're my little circle at the moment when I'm writing.
Yeah, I get that. BriAnn?
I over the last year and a half, I have learned to give myself grace. Because life has just been freaking nuts. You just never know day to day what's going to happen. So I always tell myself, if it was meant for me to write this scene or this chapter this day, That's when it'll get written. Other times I'm like, don't call me, don't text me. My mom and them was like, have you eaten? Have you gotten sleep? Like you said, I would literally shut everyone off and go missing. I have a cousins group and they're like, you ain't been on here. I'm writing. I'm like, we get on here and we be talking. I gotta go write. Like, I gotta go write. So I don't say get distracted, because I know when it's time to up and down, and I'm a procrastinator, so I work better under pressure. But I know when
me too.
When it's time to bust down a book, you better believe it's gonna bust down a book. It ain't gonna be no playing, no games, no none of that. And I have been working on like being more disciplined though, like sticking to my deadlines, because you know, as just personal goals, we have as authors ourselves, so it's just like, all right, you missed this day, you gotta double down the next day. Or you go out this weekend, you can't go out next weekend. So it's or it's one of those, and all my family knows, like once I get into that zone, or they be like, did you, especially my mama, Lord Jesus, she's like, why are you over here? Why are you over here this long? You need to go, right? You didn't bring your
all right, shout out to mama. She holding it down.
I'm like, I came to say hi. She's like, okay, well, go right. What you doing? What you doing? And I'm like, okay. So it's always good to have like those people on your back that reminds you, like, you got a book to drop, or you got a deadline, you know. So yeah.
Dominique?
It's this last year with COVID was the hardest. I think you see how resilient you are, how strong and determined, and it really is just how bad you want it. You know what I mean? You can either kind of sit and just be like, oh, I don't have the time, or you just push yourself, because I do have smaller kids, an 11-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 9-year-old. So
you got them babies.
Right. And so it's like, you know, I'll text BriAnn, like, I got those kids again. Like, it's like, you know, it's chaos kind of. You have to really stick to a schedule, because if you don't, you won't have any time. You know, as women, we try to do everything.
Yeah.
You won't have no time for yourself. And I still want to read, you know, so I'm trying to get all of this. I'm on the line. I see the books come, like, dang, I want to read too. So you have to get a schedule. Like for me, it's best to write at night because it's quiet. My kids is laying down, but I can't be up till 5 o'clock in the morning. So I have to get up early too. And it is hard. Even my family, they know I'm writing. My mama send out messages in the group. Have y'all talked to them? I'm thinking something wrong with me. Like they don't. They love that I do it, but I think sometimes a lot of people don't realize how serious it is. Right. We have to stay focused.
Yeah.
They don't think it's a job. I mean, we don't consider it a job, but it does pay our bills.
It is. Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, that's how I pay my bills. That's the only income I have. So it's like, I need to get this done, but it's hard. It is definitely hard. And social media is a big distraction for me. So I am a lot. Casey, no, I'll tell her happy belated. Like, hey, I didn't know your book was out. I'll be a week late.
Right.
We do that. Because I cannot be on social media. BriAnn would be like, girl, where you been at? Like it's like Instagram. I'm telling y'all, I would be on there for like 2 hours. Don't even know who the person is. They in China. I'm looking at their feed. Like, it's the distraction. It gets you away from your purpose too. You know, you can use it for what you have going on in your life, but I cannot, you know, they doing their stuff. I got to make sure I get my business done. So I cannot be on it like that.
And some people function like that. Like they can be on social media.
I know a lot of people who can just do all of it.
For those of us who
I wish I could.
Me too.
You know, they're like, oh, so you didn't share my book, or you didn't do this.
They take it personal. Yeah, and it's like, girl.
I promise I'm not ignoring you.
I've had a lot of people unfriend me because of that, and I tell them that's not me. Yes,
you know, I'm not out there, and I come on, and people know because I'll share like 50 things all at one time, and then I'm gone again. But it's just hard, and I know me, and I get so easily sidetracked. I cannot do it. I just can't.
I would be on Twitter all day. Twitter
is scrolling, the endless scroll. So, in your opinion, what makes a good urban story? Like, what are the elements for a good urban read? Start with Casey.
It varies, but I think that you have to, for me, when I read one, it has to paint that picture. You have to feel it. those, you know, the vibe needs to be jumping off the pages for me, where I literally visualize and feel the energy of the urban background, because there's some things in it. I hate that the new urban is kind of categorized as like sex, thugs, and drugs, because it's really not. It's not just
there's so
that.
many story
elements, and I hate that. So there's so many things. For me, it's that energy. I don't know a person in the world that is acquainted with the hood and that you can't go in the hood and just feel that vibe.
Right.
It's not always a good vibe.
Right. It's a vibe.
Right.
That to me, that feeling, that backdrop has to be there. The personalities, the characteristics. There's just some things that certain men who have that hood in them and that element, that lifestyle, certain things they're just not going to do. They're not going to tolerate. There's certain ways that they behave and stuff like that. So those men got to come hard. They have to be about it. And so that's another thing. I can't read a story where that alpha male is like, they're slipping. There's certain things about them, and it's making you give them a side eye, like, that don't feel right, you know. So the characters have to emulate that energy, that vibe. The story has to have depth. I need to know who you are based on your actions, not from somebody telling me, oh, he hard, he's a thug. You need to write that and let me feel it and let me know and see through their actions versus you telling me who they are and what they are. But ultimately, it's just, for me, it's got to have that energy that I can visualize being right in the middle of the hood, that energy, that vibe. It's just nothing like it. And then those characters have to really execute what it emulates, you know. And so for me, that's really it. It's because the story can be about anything, but those elements have to be there where you just really feel that energy and that connection. And like I said, it's not always a good vibe.
It's a vibe.
It's there, and it has to. Those books for me have to have that to create that urban masterpiece.
Do y'all have anything to add? Because Casey took us to church with that. Like, girl.
Yeah, just a little bit, because she did. She touched on everything. I want to feel like when I'm reading a good urban book, I want to feel giddy. Like, I want to feel like, oh, I want to go. I want to know who these people are. I want to go. I want to drive through the hood. I want to go to the store that they talking about, to their park, you know, whatever. I want to be from where they from. Like, literally, like you said, I want to feel everything, but I'm a visual person too. So if you as an author can paint the picture and I can see it, and then if I'm telling my mom about it and she like, okay, I can see, okay, see this book like I'm a visual person. So if you paint that picture to me, then you done your job. Like, if you cover all the bases, like the alpha male, if he from the hood, baby, he needs to be from there. Like, everybody needs to know him. The girls around the way, like, you know, it's just and I don't want to go into a hospital of how we break down our certain books, but you need to feel it, smell it, hear the music coming from it. Like, you know, I grew up in the hood, a lot of them. So it's whenever I write, I go back to that feeling when I was younger, or even when I go now, because I still have lots of family that stay in the hood. I'm like, I want to feel this. When I pull up over somebody else, it's like the kids is running over. It's alive, right? You gotta paint your picture of what you're trying to give to the reader. But I want to fall in love. I want to move, like, you know, make me want to move to the hood that you're talking about, you know, the urban setting that you are trying to paint the picture of someone growing up in this type of setting. Even if you've never lived in the hood, been to the hood, know somebody from the hood. If I read your book, I should be able to be like, oh my goodness. Right. Oh my goodness. I should be able to empathize with that character or put myself in her shoes and I'm her. Yes. Or, you know.
Yes. I think that the perfect example of that is Devout. Everybody. Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
You know, It took you to that time. You said,
Yes.
I'm walking down and I'm in this park with Nika about to walk by.
Right.
Like,
Right.
that's the part like that.
When Danny went to go
I
pick
had to
her
give
up
it
from
to
the
Kira.
date,
Shout out. I love her.
Yeah, shout out to
Shout out to
Kira
Kira,
Allen because she wrote that.
Yeah.
when Danny went to go pick her up for that date and she was on the porch, I was on the porch.
Yeah,
I was on the porch.
that was the perfect. That's
Yes.
But that's when you know you did your thing, because you are right there in the middle of it. You're standing there and you're watching it as it happens because you're a part of it.
Yeah.
Ooh, shout out to Kira, girl.
Yeah, I would say shout out to Kira. We love her. We love her work. So one thing I wanted to know is that people always talk about the art side and writing, and it's fun and you know all of that. But what are like two things? If y'all could give me two quick things, we're running on time, of business advice that you would give to new authors, aspiring authors. Like, girl, after you publish this book, there is a business side to this.
Right.
First of all, I would say know what your goals are, because you can write for fun, you can write just to pay your light bill, or you can write to pay your mortgage. So you need to know what your goals are, because that will help you navigate how you move with your career. So first and foremost, I think you need to know that, like, that's the start of it. And then probably the second thing is to be your biggest advocate, because nobody's got you like you've got you. And that comes to support, that comes to finances, that comes to everything. You have to take total control of what's going on, whether you're indie, whether you're with a publisher, any of that stuff. You have to be hands-on with every aspect. Don't just take what somebody's telling you. Don't, research, do things. And as a new author, you don't know. So reach out to those that do, and get on the internet and figure stuff out, because it can go really, really good, or it can go really, really bad. So those are the two things I'd say.
Business wise, as an independent, I literally do everything being indie, so it's kind of hard to say business. But I would say always know what you're like. Remember what you started for, because you can get your vision become cloudy once you see everybody doing something else. That's their goals,
Right.
Stay focused on what you started for. Remember why you started. And I always remind myself that when I think back to when I was writing my first book, I'm always like, I want to finish this because it feels good to finish this. It feels good, and that's business, handling your business. That's just as a grown up, and I'd also say make sure either whatever route you go, independent or with the publisher, because being indie is not everyone's cup of tea. It's hard. It's hard work. I'm not gonna lie. But make sure you're financially. Make sure you are set up to do either one of those, because nothing in this world is free. You gotta have a little money to do a little something. So, and it doesn't take a lot, but make sure you are comfortable with what you look into it. We have editors, book covers, promo. We have all of that information. So, I know when I went independent, I knew the first thing I needed to focus on was my financial situation. I'm like, oh, Andy, you spend all this money when you got da. And so I made sure that was like one of the first things. I knew I wanted to do covers. I knew I wanted to do all of this. So make sure all your ducks are in a row financially.
And understand that, like BriAnn was saying, every investment does not have a return on it. So you have to be have to be very understanding of the fact that you may invest a whole lot of stuff and money, time, and your book tanks. You don't know. So you have to really, really, like she said, know that it's what you want to do in order for you to dive in.
Yeah, I think, and that's the thing. I don't think a lot of people think you want everything to go so well. You're like, if I plan this from A to Z, it'll go great. And it's just like, sometimes it might go greater later, and it might go greater later because it might be later. Book. It might be the fifth book or the third book. You don't know what one is gonna pop out the gate. So that was excellent advice. And so coming up on the last thing is like, what's your hope for the urban genre as a whole? And y'all could take it away, Casey.
Dominique, go.
I'm gonna keep it short. I'm just gonna say to be appreciated and respected. To understand that
Yeah.
It's not necessarily just the genre, it's the creativity. And it should be undervalued, and it should be seen just as relevant as any other genre, because we write dope ass stories.
Yes.
That really is what it all boils down to. If that story makes you feel something, it matters, you know.
If you like power, read our books. Come on now, like that's what it is, you know. Sorry, like we don't get the recognition, you know.
No.
We just want to be. I was in Target and I was looking for Sister Soldier's second book, and it was literally just like one urban book right there. And I'm like, what? Like it's just crazy because it's like every genre can get accepted but our genre. Like we can even have 50 Shades of Grey on the shelf. Like it's crazy. It's dope books. They're so good. And I know so many authors that write so hard. They invest their time, and we just want to be acknowledged. For me, that's what I just want it to be. And I don't want it to be like a shameful thing.
Right.
Yeah. Because I know every time I would say, or I'm an author, I write books, and they're like, you write them Zane books? And it's like, huh?
Right.
nothing wrong with Zane. I love Zane.
But they categorize you as like a certain box.
Or they always say, you write them mainstream books. I'm like, what, urban, that? You know what? Just read one.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of them. Just read a whole lot of these urban books.
I feel like this. I feel like the urban genre, to me, this is my opinion, so y'all can come for me if y'all want to. It was one of the genres to me that gave Black people a way out, just like hip hop, and it gave people a look inside of what was going on in places that had no voices, right? Because you always had a voice in the rich places or places that, you know, colleges, universities. But what about the girl who wants to go to university and she's from the hood? What about, like, we're not all in the hood, just like, I don't know what they think is like, we just fighting and shooting and killing everybody else. I don't know what they think when you walk through the hood, it looks like, you know, a war. And even if it does, within that war is stories, is pockets, is families, is loved ones, is mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, girlfriends, boyfriends, husbands, and wives. And what you guys are doing, you guys are, because there's young girls or young women in the hood right now reading your work, and they're like, yo, somebody is writing for me. So I just want you, even if you feel like they ain't acknowledging, they acknowledging, right? Because y'all got a whole tribe of people who are just like, even now right here, they're here with you. And I think the tide is changing. Like, no matter what, we can all say who's the best, but when you think of like growing up, the authors that really came out stuck in, even in the 90s, 2000, Sister Soldier, that's an urban, like, you know, one of the biggest Black, well, you could just say her name, people know it's urban, right? Terry Wood, those are urban authors, and they put on for like a lot of the indie authors that are out today, no matter what genre, in any genre, right? So I want you guys to be encouraged with that. And then we got some questions. I'm gonna try to hurry up and get through them because we don't. I know I messed y'all up a little bit. So I have one from Lisa Bennett. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce the last name. Do you all have face claims for characters before you write, or do your visuals come to you as you write the descriptions?
They come to.
For me, I can see a person and then envision a character, but I don't like go look for them and pull them and say this is going to be my character. But I do see visuals sometimes prior to starting, and I'm like, ooh, I can write about them.
Yeah, I can see a visual sometimes, even though I don't post visuals in my groups no more, because that's a whole nother story. But I can see a picture, like she said, I'd be like, oh, that could be a character. But to me, I go off personality. Some characters have a personality where they'll build that. You'd be like, he gotta be fine. He coming like this, like he got the beard. I can see it right now. Like, you know, their personalities will tell you, you know, how they look.
That's so relevant.
Do you have any tips or ideas to reach new readers from Kaylin?
Yes, because I feel like I get new readers with each series or each book that I release, but I always tell Dominique this, or and Bianca, shout out to B, free B. Free B. I feel like sometimes I'm stagnant with my reader base.
Me too.
And I hate feeling like that, especially when I see a lot of new readers. But then I'd be like, I just don't think a lot of people are reading this. I know it's so many more. readers. So, Kaylin, to answer your question, I would, if you don't have an email list, get an email list, make them sign up, exclusive content, sneak peeks, readers group, word of mouth also. I used to share, I fell off a little bit the last few months, but every week I would share new releases from all the authors, and that's just something I do because I'm a reader myself.
Right.
And so it takes literally nothing for other people to share your work. Like, don't be afraid to ask for help from other authors. Ask them to share your book in their newsletters. Like, you know.
I would say book clubs too. Book clubs help a whole lot.
Yes, book clubs do help.
Book readers that's gonna ride for you. Like
don't be afraid to share your work. Like, I don't care if only one person like a post. I'm gonna post this link.
That's it.
Yeah, and shout out to Brittany Chanel. Like, she's in there watching too, and her urban book club. I feel like she goes hard for urban, and I feel like the sister girls, we have urban, we have romance, we have all genres, but she's specifically urban. Like, she rides hard, like for Instagram, all of that. So shout out to her, and make sure y'all follow her as well too. I know I just saw her, but all right, let me keep it going quickly. At what point did you decide to make writing books your only source of income? When did you take that leap? That was from Renee Bless Books. And one person can answer. That'll be quick.
So I'm not the example because I sent in my first book, got signed in June, and quit my job in July. My husband was going to divorce me. But I felt it in my soul, and it was like, this is where you're supposed to be. So I took a leap of faith, and I just had to believe. But I think that once you decide your dedication level, then that's when you know how you're going to approach writing
with realistic expectations.
Yeah, it's not easy. So you have to have that dedication level.
Because I still have a job.
Right.
I've been having a job the 5 years I write full time, but I'm a domestic violence advocate, and I still work at a domestic violence shelter. So,
and that right there takes insane dedication and discipline.
But I use my job to profit and support my books. So back to the financial thing, you know, if you're not ready to go full-fledged like Casey did, use your job to support your dream, your purpose, your passion. Because it's there.
It is. It's very possible. And, you know, I hate when consistency is the key, and I hate when people like go for that and it's like, oh, it's not just consistency. No, it's not, but that is the foundation. You have to be consistent, which consistent means dedication, and that means discipline, but you also have to put out your best work every time you put a book out. And because, you know, a rushed or half-assed book will kill you just as much as not being consistent. So all of it circles back together, and until you understand that and are ready to do the work, then you can't decide how it's going to affect you income wise.
Right.
Well, this has been great. This was like the best, like, I'm not saying the best chat ever, but y'all did real good, because I know we had other chats coming up today. But this was good. It was so refreshing. And like I said, I hope that more urban panels are out there. I hope that you guys are like, this can be one of those things where we just start seeing a ripple effect, because I want to see more urban authors get the shine that they deserve rightfully. And then also quickly, if y'all feel like y'all want to drop a flex bomb, I said this to everybody who comes out, y'all want to let us know what y'all working on, what type of time. I know BriAnn's like, girl, I just I'm out. Anything that y'all working on, what y'all want to promote, what y'all want to pump, it could be anything that's out now, and tell the people where they can find you. Casey.
I'm just author Casey Mills across all social media outlets, and that's all I can tell you as far as like finding what's new and what's popping. Because I have learned that I'm not
we gonna stick to it.
It's basically gonna be like, bam, here's a book, read it.
Right.
BriAnn, you could just tell us about your recent release.
I don't want to talk about a spinoff or nothing, because Lord knows what happens with me.
I know, that's why I said
I don't know. But you can go read From the Hood of Love. Follow me on social media, BriAnn Danae. That's really cool.
And Dominique.
Well, I do have something new coming out. I haven't even posted a cover yet, so I'm like, I don't know what to say.
Yes, tell us.
You know what?
Premiere.
Okay, so I am doing a collab with somebody. We have not posted the cover. It's the Urban Biker series. It's something I've never done before.
Are you gonna tell us are you gonna tell us right now who it's collabing with? Come on, give it to us. We right here live. Come on, we put you on the spot, Dominique. Come on.
If she don't tell you,
I'm not saying it, because she gonna be like, girl.
If she don't tell you,
pressure.
I tell y'all not.
I'm gonna tell y'all she's really. Just look on the chart. She got like 3 books on there right now. So I say that she in like the top year. So, but it's something different. It's a biker series.
So I'm excited. I'm excited. And it's a series. So we know we're going to get the goods. Yeah. All right, y'all. Thank you guys, ladies, so much. This was great. And everybody in the chat, y'all blow them up, show them love. And this is Black Indie Authors Day Behind the Pen 2021 virtual. And it's great.
Thank you
so much,
everybody,
for having us.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.